Are you having trouble with the German R? The German R has three variants. Well, depends on the dialect you're talking about and the individual speaker. But it has multiple variants, and we're going to talk about what they are and how to produce them. So first we're going to talk about the alveolar variant, or the alveolar variants, which are the tap or flap and the trill. And it's produced at the alveolar ridge, which is where you produce the D sound. So duh, duh. But it's the tap or flap is much quicker. R, r. And this might sound like Spanish to you. And the trill is also a sound in Spanish. R, r. And this is a speech sound that's used mostly in the South, in Bavaria and Switzerland, that area. It is a non-standard dialect. It's not Hochdeutsch, but you may be interested in learning this variant if you have a cultural connection to the area, to southern Germany or Switzerland, or if you're an opera singer or some kind of vocalist. I recently met and have been working with an opera singer who was trained to produce this alveolar R and not the other variants. So anyway, like I said, this is produced at the alveolar ridge where you say D, d. It's just quicker. And so r, r, like when you say butter, 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 r, r. Or for the trill, it's that same thing, just repeated really fast. R, r. This is not the variant that I speak, so you might want to find another video about the dialect if you're interested in it. We've got some other variants or allophones of the R in German, and it gets kind of interesting because you might not realize what's going on in the mouth when we produce these noises. So you may have heard of the guttural R. So that's actually two different things when people say that. A guttural R means it's produced way in the back of your throat, right? So if I get out my little prop here, this is where the alveolar R is, right here. R, 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 r. And the guttural R is actually produced at the uvula, which is kind of dangling right here. It looks like one of those little speed punching bags. It's dangling here. Some people think it's the tonsils. It's not the tonsils. It's called a uvula, and it dangles in the middle of the throat right here, dangling down. So we've got two variants of this uvular R: uvular fricative and the uvular trill. So fricative just means that there's a certain amount of friction going on. It means that the tongue, in this case, is approaching the uvula, but not creating a complete closure, and that the airflow can get through, but there's friction because the tongue and uvula are so close. And this is the back of the tongue, way back of the tongue. And a trill is when the articulatory organs actually meet. So the tongue and the uvula are actually meeting here. So they're getting closer than the fricative, but the air is also being forced through, and there is a closure, but it's an alternate closure. So other examples of the trill are the alveolar trill, which we talked about. So you see how the tongue meets the alveolar ridge, but then is released when the air is forced through. But then it meets again, rapidly repeating. There's another trill. There's the bilabial trill. And that's a trill. It's not a speech sound in any of the languages I speak, so I probably am not doing it accurately, but that's what it is to me. And so that's what a trill is. So that's what's going on in your uvula in contact with your tongue. So we've got the tap, r, r, and that's also called the flap, and the alveolar trill, r, and then you've got the uvular fricative, r, r, and the uvular trill, r, r, r. And then we also have, which I haven't covered yet, we also have a vocalic R in German. And this one's very interesting because people tend to not understand that it's a vowel. So this is spelled with an R, but it's a vowel sound. So people will tend to, it's the sound in you know, the word for der, the masculine word for the in the nominative, singular, der. That's a vowel sound. It's not der, it's not der, it's not der, it's der, der. And that vowel sound is similar to the American English schwa, which is It's just that very neutral vowel sound with your mouth in a very neutral resting position. But it's a little lower. So if you open your mouth a little more and lower your tongue a little bit, lera, der. We're gonna look at some example words with this, what we call the tiefschwa, in them. And you're gonna notice that the tiefschwa, which is a vowel sound, is always preceded by a vowel. And remember, all of these words are spelled with an R, where you hear that tiefschwa vowel sound. We've got Tür, means door, Tür, and Bär, Bär means bear. So you notice there's an R even in the English, and there's an R in the orthography of the German, but it's a vowel sound. So let's talk about distribution. Distribution means where do you find which sound. The uvular trill, which is or the uvular fricative, which is they're very similar. Those are both found at the beginning of a word or at the beginning of a syllable. So Rad, Rad means wheel or bicycle. Or you could say Rasen, Rasen means the lawn. The vocalic R, that tiefschwa sound, is found at the end of syllables and in diphthongs. So it's after a vowel at the end of a syllable. I hope you found this video interesting and maybe helpful. And I'm Laura Calabrese of German with a Linguist, and I hope I helped you learn German.